I've searched all across the internet for some of the best and worst examples of people using the value proposition canvas. And what we're going to do in this video is rank them from S tier for super all the way down to F for fail, so that you can see what works. So when you go to apply the value proposition canvas yourselves, you're going to get the very best results. By the way, we're not so interested in the ideas here, we're more interested in how people have actually used the value proposition canvas as a tool. Okay, my goodness, this is example 1, and it's actually a great place to start because it shows you exactly what you shouldn't do. This person has written multiple bullet points on each individual sticky note, which makes it really hard to add to it when you get new information, or to move things around as well later on, or even take things out. Another mistake this person's made is they've used a small A4 canvas with big square sticky notes. This means that it's very difficult to actually fit everything in. No, use a big canvas with smaller sticky notes, which is great because it constrains you to writing less on each sticky note, and you've got space to move things around and put things in the right place. So I'm going to have to put this in E tier. Here's the second example, and this is a classic academic value proposition now. This person, even though it's digital, has written directly on the canvas itself, which makes it very hard to read. Also, they've put a lot of things down there, and there's no connections between anything. This is not a great example of how to use the value proposition canvas. I'm going to have to put this in D tier. Now, I really like this next example because what they've done is printed out a big business model canvas and a big value proposition canvas and put them next to each other. They've used color-coded sticky notes, which is great. And by having your value proposition canvas and your business model canvas together, it enables you to switch between the two easily. I love it. I'm going to put this in B tier. Now, actually, I'm going to put it in A tier. Let's look at this fourth example. Now, something that you want to do is avoid writing in biro, because when you stand away from the canvas, when it's on the wall or on a table, you can't see it so well when it's using a thin pen. What you want to do is use a Sharpie. They haven't done that, but they have written in capitals, which does make it easier to read, so that's good. I'm going to put it in C tier. With this fifth example, what I like is the person's filled out the boxes at the top about the customer segment and the value proposition. So when you come in and look at this fresh, you can see exactly what it's about. Another thing that I really like that this person has done that no one else has is they've included the test cards at the bottom, because filling out your value proposition canvas is just stage 1. You should be going out and testing it by speaking to customers and running other experiments. And these test cards help you log those experiments and then refer back to them and then learn from them. I can't emphasize enough how the value proposition canvas is not a static document. It's something you go back to and update when you've run business experiments and actually spoken to customers. So great to use those test cards as well. I'm going to put this in A tier. I really like with this sixth example that they've used color coding. Now, as long as you understand your color coding, that's what's most important. But I do have a recommendation. With the gains, the gain creators and pain relievers, use green sticky notes because it's positive. With the pains, use red sticky notes because it's kind of negative. And for the customer jobs and the products and services, use yellow sticky notes because they're more neutral. But overall, not bad. I like that they've used a big canvas. I'm going to put that in B tier. With the seventh example, you can see that this team is working really hard. I love that they've printed out their canvases nice and big and stuck them on the wall. One thing I would say is they haven't used color coding for the value proposition canvas, so that's something to think about. But this is a great space and they've created a great environment for this type of value proposition canvas workshop. So I'm going to put it in C tier. This eighth example is very similar to the seventh one. I think they've done a great job of printing out the canvases on big paper and putting it on the wall, but they could improve their color coding. So I'm going to put that in C as well. I haven't mentioned anything about what people have actually written down in any of the examples so far, but with this next one, I think it's really important that I do. If you look at the pains section on the customer profile, you can see the pains they put in are price, distance to buy, and not many choices. These are not really very good pains, and it makes me feel that this team is actually trying to skew what customers are thinking more to what they're actually trying to sell. And they're not really putting themselves in their customers' shoes, because you should be really thinking about what are the pains, difficulties, frustrations, obstacles that your customers are facing in trying to get their jobs done, not the job that you want them to do. So make sure you run what we call customer profile discovery interviews to ask them what are their jobs, what are their pains, what are their gains, so that you can get an accurate profile for your customers. So I'm going to put them in, E tier, unfortunately. They're not getting much benefit from it, really. I think I could probably say the same thing about this example now. Again, too busy. It's too broad. That's not that helpful. Increased business is a gain. That's very broad. This isn't really helpful, what you're writing down there. How's that going to help you create a product and service that's irresistible to your customers? It's not. So really make sure that you're putting yourselves in your customers' shoes. And the best way to answer these is just to speak to customers, have a customer profile there when you do, and actually map it out together with them. I do that all the time. I find it a very useful exercise. Now, this is a great example of not just having a static customer profile. And what they've got is they've printed out multiple customer profiles and value maps. The circle is called the customer profile, by the way, and the square is called the value map. And they've put them on the wall, and so you can see different customer profiles. Probably they've done different interviews, and this represents each person that they've interviewed. I love that, and none of the others have done this, but this is something that you should be doing for sure when you use the value proposition canvas to get the most out of it. Do multiple versions, and it can be physical, but it also can be digital, and you should be referring back to them and updating them all the time. And once you've completed multiple customer interviews, you can then take the customer profiles from them and consolidate them into one, which then you can use to create your value map. I love this. I'm going to put this in A tier. Here's number 12, and they've made similar mistakes to others before. Their pains and their gains seem too broad. They need to go out and actually speak to their customers and get a lot more precise in what they're saying. So I'm going to put that into E tier. Example 13 is a good example of a digital canvas. I really like how they've put the title at the top, who it's for on the right, and what the product is on the left. And the jobs, pains, and gains are really clear. I like it a lot. I'm going to put this into A tier. With example 14, there's something that I want to mention that a lot of people don't realize. You can create cognitive murder. Alex Osterwalder calls it that, or cognitive overload, where you just put too much information in somebody's face straight away when you present your finished canvas to other people. And that's what they're doing here. What you want to do is have a spare version of the canvas that's empty, and then slowly move your sticky notes one at a time as you talk through them and move them over to the other canvas. And that way it's much easier to follow what you're saying, and it's much easier to consume the information when it's being presented to you fresh. Because just because you've gone through a value proposition canvas workshop and it makes sense to you doesn't mean it's going to make sense to somebody that wasn't in that workshop. So make sure you have that spare canvas and move sticky notes one at a time as you show it to other people. I'm going to put this one into C tier. Example 15 is of Alex Osterwalder's value proposition canvas for Tesla. Clearly he's done everything right here. He's used color-coded sticky notes. He's drawn pictures on his sticky notes, which again makes it easier to understand what's on the sticky note very quickly when you see it for the first time. I also like how what he's done is he's prioritized his jobs, pains, and gains. This makes it easy to understand what's most important for your customers. So of course, we're going to put this into S tier. So do you think my value proposition canvas ranking was fair, or was it unfair? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them there as well. I'm happy to answer them. If you found this video useful and you want to watch more videos like this, check out this one here, where I share 3 value proposition canvas examples from successful businesses. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. See ya.